Welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is RUDOLF OKONKWO. Today we are discussing the anti-gay rights bill that was signed by President Jonathan this week. And we want to talk about the implications for gay people in Nigeria. And joining us now is the senator who actually sponsored the bill in the Senate, Senator Domingo Obende. Senator, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you very much, Rudolph.
Yeah, let me start by asking you, now that the president signed the bill into law, how do you feel about that?
First and foremost, I'm highly elated. One, because I believe at least for once we have a culture and tradition that is going to be preserved. And secondly, our morals will be regulated. And I think I feel just good because I also know that in the creation of the world, God made man. In his own image, that's what the Bible says. And out of a man, he made a woman. And I believe God does not make mistakes. So for me, I am excited and I believe that for once there will be morals in our society.
Yeah. Now, what do you expect to happen next, especially to gays in Nigeria?
Well, basically, we have not had a formal pronouncement of any gay society or association. That is what I know. If there are, then it could just be like one of those secret societies that never made themselves public. But again, I want to say that a city without law is a city without sin. Now there is a law, and of course, what can make it to be sinful is already in the act. So basically, the gay guys or practitioners of gay will now have to be careful to ensure that they don't constitute public nuisance.
Yeah, we know that in Bauchi, they arrested some men, and they are going to be tried. Some of them are going to face death by stoning if they are tried under Sharia law. All these things going on, is that the image you have of what will happen after the passing of this law?
That reminds me, basically we've had this in our penal code, and what I thought that we have done with this bill is to regulate it, to give assurance that, look, we can make our laws and abide by the laws. In this bill, or rather this law, I will say clearly there's no death penalty there. So, but you know very well that every law being made in any country does not interfere with religion. The Sharia law, of course, has to do with death penalty and is by stoning to death. Naturally, that has been taking place, and of course, I don't think government can stop that. But for us, in the secular world, I think we are going to be more regulated in a way that there will be civility in the cause of the justice of this law.
Let me get you right. Are you saying that if they start stoning people in the north for being gay, that the government cannot do anything to stop it?
Well, if it is the Islamic law, the government will have to go a long way to bridge the gap by telling them, look, we now have a new law that regulates the law of the land. So your stoning to death will have to stop, and this new law have to apply. Basically, I think that's what's going to happen. As far as I'm concerned, I think this law is even better and milder, you know, comparing to the laws that have been on ground.
Now, people are asking, what inspired you to push for this law? Were you sponsored by the Christian rights in America and other parts of the world, or you came out on your own to say, we have to do something to stop this?
Well, I will say clearly that when you go through the social media, what you find there, it's not edifying at all. And a couple of things that I have seen, I've seen countries passing laws and allowing gay rights and all of that, seeing people going to church to get married, then I just thought about it. Look, this practice or moral endowment in these other societies could just find its way into this country called Nigeria. And we are Africans, and that's what makes us unique. And I felt, look, there's a need for us to protect this moral behavior that might be transferred to us as technology. So, and that's exactly what encouraged me to put the bill together for submission to the Senate.
Now, we know that Uganda's President Museveni also, the parliament passed a bill like this. And this week he said he would not approve it. And part of the reasons he gave was that he said that, let me read out this for you. He said that, that the people, he was talking about gay people, that there are better ways to rescue people from their abnormality. Now, is Museveni smarter than our own president, or do you think that there is something we are missing in terms of what is the solution? Is this the best solution, putting someone in jail for 14 years for being gay?
Well, I want to say something here. When you go through a burden of moral behavior that has become nuisance in the society, and the churches have spoken about it, the mosque has spoken about it, traditional rulers have spoken about it, and there's no change in sight. I guess the smartest thing to get done, like what I said earlier on, that a city without law is a city without sin, is to make a law to regulate it. For Museveni, he possibly has his reasons why he had to do what he did. But I think that the smartest thing to get done is to make laws for people to abide.
Now, is the signing of this law at this time political in any way? You know, being that for the first time, it looks like the president got approval from everybody, both the Christians and the Muslims, both people in the north or south. Is it political?
Well, I would say clearly that I am from the APC. That is the
opposition party.
Opposition party. I'm not from PDP. So if I were to be from PDP, one possibly could be relating it to a political bill. And when I submitted this bill, I was in ACN, Action Congress of Nigeria, before we met. So I am of the view that the people merely embraced this law because they thought that regulating ourselves morally will bring about the culture of the country. Let me tell you clearly that the culture of Africa is what makes Africa unique. And by the time we subject such culture to a Western culture that has no bearing with our forefathers that founded Africa, then obviously we will be getting, or rather hitting the wall. I've always said something, that look, the Western world, for as much as we keep our relationship with you, they must understand that we're a sovereign nation. And the best thing they can transfer to us is technology, to making Africa to grow so that we can be fully independent.
Now, let me ask you, the Pope in July of last year said that he was asked about gay friends, and he said, who am I to judge a gay person of goodwill who seeks the Lord? That you cannot marginalize those people. Now, why are we in Africa judging them and trying to kind of isolate them and discriminate against them? How do you answer that?
Now, when you talk about judging people, I don't think we have reached the stage of judging anyone. This is a law. A good citizen must abide by the law of the land. And the moment you refuse to abide by the law of the land, then you are prepared to challenge the law of the land. So, to me, the Pope's views and ideas must be very personal. I don't think it has anything to do with the Catholic faith, although he's the head of the Catholic, but he has a right to his personal view. And you also agree with me that he was attacked in so many social medias over that statement. So we are not giving judgment to gay practitioners or practitioners. But what we are saying is that here in Africa, we do not want this to happen, and we need to get it regulated now before it is too late. But anybody that is so stubborn and feel that where he or she wants to think from the opposite side of the head can go ahead, and the law will take its course.
Now, I know you don't have a lot of time, but let me ask you, so what will we know there are gay people in Nigeria. What will they do now? What do you expect them under this law to do? Is it to stay underground and not to come up and show that they are gay? Or is there any plan to convert them to something? What is the plan? Are they going to disappear because the law is in place?
I think the essence of this law, like I said, is to regulate. One, if two guys enter into a room now, like a hotel room, two things or so many other factors could have been the cause. One, they choose to share one room because they do not have the money to have separate rooms. Two, maybe they want to pray together. Three, they could be gay. Now, but you see, the good part of this bill has to do with the fact that you cannot solemnize it. If you are doing it and you are uncut, you just cannot solemnize it. It is when you come out to solemnize it, that is when I think there will be a proof. Because in every law, there must be a proof. There are technicalities, even in the court of law, that can make even a criminal go scot-free. So if these technicalities are there and they cannot be traced, then obviously you agree with me that they go free. But what we're saying here is that marriages for both men or for both women cannot be acceptable in Nigeria.
And you are confident, Senator, that the judiciary in Nigeria will be able to separate people who are actually gays and people who are not, as they try to enforce this law?
I am very confident of the judiciary that we have. That prudently they will separate it and they will be able to get to the root of the matter. Because these are cases you do not judge in a hurry. There must be witnesses. Something must happen. There must be a proof. And if there are no proofs, I don't think there's any judge that will just go ahead and throw any man into jail. I don't think so.
Now, one last question. A professor here, Professor Cornel West, he wrote in this book, Arrest Matters, and he said that the aim of constitutional democracy is to safeguard the rights of minority and avoid the tyranny of the majority. I know that most people who supported this bill, they've been saying the majority of people are for this bill. Are you not worried that the majority is imposing their will on the minority? And are you not worried that in a certain situation, another situation, we may find even yourself being in the minority, and if the majority says that this is what they want, that you are going to be forced to abide by it?
I would say clearly that I've always been in the minority. The village I'm from, we are from the minority. We have always been marginalized. The party that I joined, which was the Action Congress of Nigeria, we were in the minority. You see, but qualitative minority will produce for you majority of purpose. And I'll tell you and I'll explain it. One, armed robbery. They are a minority. We have laws that forbid them. In some countries, it's death penalty. In some countries, it's life. Suicide bombing, they are in a minority. Terrorism, they are in a minority. Are we going to say that because we want to protect the rights of the minority, we allow immorality to take over our culture and our morals? So I think that what we're doing here is trying to make a law that will regulate, I say again, regulate the society that will protect the minority. Because you find out that those that are in these practices are there for what? Maybe want of funds or want of fame. So we do not think that they are a minority that will bring about qualitative value to any nation. Any minority that has no qualitative value cannot be assumed to be a minority.
So you're saying that they are not of any value to the Nigerian society, the gays?
What I'm saying, what we are regulating here is moral.
Yeah.
And when two men chooses to marry, they are not adding any value to our culture. There's no value in that culture. So basically, we have to clamp it down immediately. That's the best thing to get done.
Senator, you mentioned culture. I know that a lot of people also talk about this culture. It's an African. What is African now in the society we have? We have the Christian religion that came from Europe. We have the Islamic religion that came from the East. What is African in our society? Why do we choose which one to say this is an African? For instance, polygamy is African. We believe that. But the church came and said we should not have polygamy in Africa, and we accepted it. How would we make these calls?
You see, accepting not to be a polygamist has to do with the fact that you have a faith you profess as a Christian. Polygamy in the Islamic religion is there. Polygamy in the African tradition is there. And it is the tradition we are trying to protect here. It's when you are a Christian, and even if you read the Bible, it is not purely against polygamy. I will tell you that. But if you must be a pastor or be a deacon, then you cannot be a man of more than one wife. That's what the Bible says. There are a lot of Christians that are married to more than one. I don't believe that polygamy is purely an African business. But right in the Western world, they will tell you polygamy is not good. I believe there is legislation against it. There is legislation against bigamy. There is legislation against sodomy. So when you look at all these things, you are legislating against also minority sectors. Why? Because in the Western world, you believe they are not adding value to your culture and your society. So what is the crack and who's in Africa? If we say that, look, gay is not adding value to our culture and we do not want it. Why is the Western world crying?
All right, Senator, thank you so much, Senator Domingo Obende.
Thank you very much.
All right, we are going to continue the discussion on gay marriage, gay rights, and gay bill that was signed by the president this week. We are going to talk to several people, including activists, and we are going to talk to Archbishop Akinola of the Church of Nigeria and Archbishop Kigama of the Jos Diocese of the Catholic Church. So stay tuned.